Have you ever stopped to think about what's really inside that glass of milk that many of us consume almost every day? Is it the nutritional hero we've been promised since childhood? Or is there something darker, hidden in this common food that turns it into a villain? There are doctors and scientists who believe it is a key player in health, while others raise red flags, associating it with issues ranging from inflammation to serious diseases. Sounds contradictory, doesn't it? And then comes the question. Have we been deceived for decades, or are we simply misinterpreting the facts? In this video, we will explore the myths and truths about milk, with revelations that promise to leave you stunned. If you think you know everything about milk, get ready because what comes next might surprise you a lot. So, let's begin with the role of milk and its myths. Milk, one of the most controversial foods of our time. For some, it's a hero packed with essential nutrients. For others, it's a disguised villain, bringing inflammation and health issues. Many believe, for instance, that milk feeds cancer cells or causes kidney stones. But is any of this true? Science offers us far more complex clues. While some studies show possible correlations, others categorically debunk them. It's like that friend who's always in the gossip spotlight, but you can never tell if they're really to blame. Now, let's dive into the claims that milk causes inflammation. For some people, especially those with intolerance or allergies, this might be true. But for the majority, it's just a myth. A practical example. Imagine someone without lactose intolerance, but who feels discomfort after drinking milk. In this case, the problem might lie in other foods they consume along with it, such as processed cereals and sugars. The cause and effect relationship isn't always as simple as it seems. Scientific studies are like chapters in a constantly revised book. A widely publicized study from the 1990s linked milk to a higher risk of cancer. But more recent studies paint a more balanced picture, even showing evidence that it may reduce the risk of colorectal cancer. Not every study is definitive, and understanding research methods is as important as the results themselves. By the way, did you know that milk consumption preferences vary greatly depending on where you live? This is where the discussion gets even more intriguing. Did you know that lactose tolerance across cultures isn't the same everywhere? Have you ever stopped to think about how milk is treated differently around the world? In Asian countries, for instance, it's rare to find adults who can digest lactose without problems. There, about 90% of the population is lactose intolerant. Meanwhile, in Europe, especially in northern regions, only 10% to 15% face this issue. This cultural difference has deep roots in genetics and evolution. It's as if people's bodies adapted to the environments they lived in. And that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? This tolerance isn't just about genetic luck. It's also a reflection of each region's dietary history. Populations that relied on dairy as a dietary staple developed greater lactose resistance, while others, whose diets were more plant and grain-based, never needed this adaptation. A fascinating example comes from Africa. In some cattle-herding tribes, lactose digestion is effortless, while in others, intolerance is the norm. Isn't it incredible how habits shape the human body? So, what can lactose-intolerant individuals do? The good news is that there are plenty of alternatives. Products like lactose-free milk, plant-based milks, and even lactase supplements can save the day. It's almost like finding a key to unlock that cake recipe you thought was off-limits. If you enjoy experimenting in the kitchen, you can even try plant-based milks like almond or oat milk. Scientific studies explain that lactose intolerance happens due to the lack or reduction of an enzyme called lactase, which breaks down milk sugar. Interestingly, lactose tolerance or intolerance also influences what we see on supermarket shelves. In countries with high intolerance rates, there's an abundance of plant-based alternatives. In places where milk is widely consumed, traditional options dominate. This raises an intriguing question. Could the future of global food trends be shaped by these cultural differences? So let's dive into some nutritional insights on milk and find out. Milk has been called a complete food, but is it truly essential for a healthy diet? It offers a powerful combination of calcium, protein, and vitamins like B12 and D. However, the truth is, no single food is indispensable. If you don't consume milk, you can get those same nutrients from various other sources. Sardines, for example, are an excellent source of calcium, with the bonus of omega-3s. Have you thought about adding more spinach or beans to your diet? In practice, you can strengthen your bones without milk. Fruits like oranges, seeds like sesame, and even tofu are great alternatives. It's as if milk is just one of many roads leading to the same destination, a balanced diet. Now about milk proteins, yes, they're high quality. But again, you don't rely solely on them. Beans, lentils, eggs, and even the classic combo of rice and beans are excellent protein sources. Science has highlighted that the nutrients found in milk can be consumed in other ways without negative health impacts. What's more, individuals who get calcium from vegetables and fish have bones just as strong as those who drink milk regularly. But this raises another interesting question. If we can get the same nutrients from other sources, why is milk still such a hot topic? Could it be related to the contradictory studies about its health effects? When it comes to milk, opinions split like a heated debate. Since the late 20th century, studies have emerged linking milk consumption to diseases like cancer and heart problems. In the 1990s, research connected milk to an increased risk of certain cancers, but later studies questioned the methods used. Today, we know that context matters. The type of milk, the quantity consumed, and even other factors in diet and lifestyle all influence the results. That's why it's crucial to view the data critically and avoid the trap of accepting everything without questioning. Milk does have its benefits. It's rich in nutrients like calcium and vitamin D, essential for bone health. But what about those studies warning of cardiovascular risks? Here, the type of milk fat comes into play. Many dairy products are high in saturated fats, which can raise bad cholesterol. However, options like skim milk or versions enriched with omega-3 can help balance this equation. Science also gives us insights into specific groups. A study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition analyzed bone health in older adults and found benefits in moderate milk consumption, but noted that excessive intake might strain the kidneys. These controversial studies raise more questions than answers. Is milk more hero or villain? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between, varying from person to person. But there's another intriguing point we haven't explored yet. What about the environmental impact of milk production? After all, ethical and ecological concerns also weigh heavily in this discussion. Have you ever thought about the environmental impact of a simple glass of milk? On a global scale, milk production consumes natural resources at astonishing levels. To start with, dairy cows require vast amounts of water and land to produce sufficient feed. And it doesn't stop there. There are also significant emitters of methane, a greenhouse gas that greatly contributes to global warming. Let's talk numbers. A study published in Science Journal revealed that producing 1 liter of milk requires about 1,000 liters of water throughout the process, from growing the cow's feed to the final product. For those concerned about the planet's health, this is an alarming statistic. An alternative? Plant-based milks like almond, oat, or coconut have a significantly smaller environmental footprint. However, these options also face challenges, such as the water needed to grow almonds. Milk production leaves a considerable environmental mark, from the excessive manure generated by cows, which can contaminate rivers and soils, to the waste from transportation and packaging, like plastic and cardboard, which often ends up in landfills. Technologies like biodigestion are being used to mitigate these impacts, but are they enough to change the global scenario? The question remains, does the demand for milk justify its environmental cost? For those seeking sustainability, reducing consumption or opting for alternatives like oat milk could be a more conscious choice. Environmental concerns are just one side of the coin. On the other hand, many communities still depend on milk as a basic food and livelihood source. This makes the debate even more complex. But what about you? Have you considered how your dietary choices reflect on the planet's resources? There's still a fascinating question to explore. How can milk consumption be adjusted to individual needs without ignoring these ethical concerns? In the end, deciding whether or not to consume milk depends on a variety of factors, from health to personal preferences. For those who tolerate lactose well and have no restrictions, it can be a convenient source of nutrients. But what about those who avoid it for ethical reasons or due to allergies? Today, the options are so diverse that no one needs to feel limited. Plant-based milks, such as almond, oat, and soy, offer flavorful and nutrient-rich alternatives. It's almost like having a menu tailored to every lifestyle. If you're seeking a balance between health and sustainability, moderation might be the answer. Instead of consuming milk daily, why not alternate with other sources of calcium and protein? Plus, incorporating new foods can be a fascinating culinary experience. Try, for example, a coconut milk smoothie with berries or a dessert made with oat milk. These small swaps can make a big difference in your dietary routine. The decision to consume or avoid milk can also be influenced by cultural beliefs or personal values. For instance, in vegan communities, avoiding dairy is a way to align with ethical principles. For others, milk represents a cultural legacy that's hard to let go of, and that's perfectly understandable. What matters most is respecting your body and values. After all, what works for one person might not be ideal for another. So, what do you think? Does milk deserve the title of hero or villain? Before closing the tab, let me know in the comments. And speaking of food choices, have you ever wondered if the dishes you order at restaurants might be sabotaging your health? Click on the screen and find out how fast foods and restaurant meals could be harming you. That's it for today's video. Take care and see you next time.